Hey guys, Festus Keyamo son, who will be leaving his position as Minister of State for Labour and Employment, had stated that the appointment of a Minister of State is an abnormality. This was said by Keyamo in his speech at the closing ceremony for the Federal Executive Council, FEC, which was held under President Muhammadu Buhari's watch. The Minister of State thanked President Buhari for enhancing his regime by appointing him. He observed that some other ministers of state had been complaining and unable to speak up in a forceful manner. He claimed it will be challenging to evaluate the ministers of state's individual performances because their discretion was constrained by that of the ministers. Keyamo said, "Mr. President, you first appointed me as Minister of State in the Minister of State in the Ministry, Niger Delta Affairs in August 1929, and you later redeployed me as Minister of State in the Ministry of Labour and Employment. Today, I cannot find the words to express the depth of my gratitude to you for finding me worthy, out of over 200 million Nigerians, to be nominated and subsequently approved to serve as Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My curriculum vitae has been greatly enhanced forever. From my very humble beginnings in a small, dusty town in Delta State, when I was born and raised by my struggling parents, all the way to the council chambers at the presidential villa, where I had the honor and the privilege to participate weekly in decision-making. For my country, in the last 4 years, it has been like a fairy tale. I give God all the glory. I want what I am about to say, therefore, is not and should not be construed as an indication of ingratitude. Far from it. What I'm about to say is just my own little contribution to our constitutional development as a relevant ruling, as a relatively young democracy, and to aid future governments to optimize the performance of those they appoint as ministers. I beg your pardon. Mr. President, the consent for designation of Minister of State is a constitutional aberration and is peacefully not working for many so appointed. Successive governments have come and gone, and he said, Mr. President, the concept or designation of Minister of State is a constitutional aberration and is practically not working for many so appointed. Successive governments have come and gone, and many who were appointed as ministers of state have not spoken out at a forum such as this because of the risk of sounding ungrateful to the president who appointed them. However, like I said earlier, this is not ingratitude. As a private citizen, I am on record to have gone to court a number of times to challenge unconstitutional acts of government for the sake of advancing our constitutional democracy. So I will be out of character for me to have gone through government and be carried away by my role as a Nigerian. By a role, I beg your pardon, he said. So it will be out of character for me to have gone through government and carried away by the mob of public office and forget my role as a member of the inner bar and myself imposed rule over the years as a crusader for democracy and constitutionalism. So guys, what's your take on this? Keyamo said Mr. President first appointed him as the Minister of State in the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs in August 2019, and he later redeployed him as the Minister of State in the Ministry of Labour and Employment. He said today he cannot find the words to express the depth of his gratitude to Mr. President for finding him worthy out of over 200 million Nigerians to be nominated and subsequently appointed to serve as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My, my curriculum my curriculum vitae has been greatly enhanced forever, he said, from my very humble beginnings in a small dusty town in Delta State, where I was born and raised by my struggling parents, all the way to the council chambers at the presidential villa, where I had the honor and the privilege to participate weekly in decision making for my country. In the last 4 years, it has been like a fairy tale. I give God the glory. What I am about to say, therefore, is not, and it should not be construed as an indication of, far from it. What I am about to say is just my own little contribution to our constitutional development as a relatively young democracy and to aid future governments to optimize the performance of those they appointed as ministers. Okay, guys, I'm dropping it here.